Peace. The Honourable Member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm honoured to rise today on behalf of the great people of Cowichan, Malahat, Langford on Vancouver Island to discuss Bill C-20, the Build Canada Homes Act. Simply put, Vancouver Island, indeed Canada, is in a housing crisis. There is an entire generation that is being priced out of home ownership, and far too many, including young Canadians, have lost the hope of ever owning a home. This crisis will not solve itself, and it is the job of the government to take action to fix it. Last week I held a roundtable in Langford, specifically to discuss housing with my colleague from Parry Sound, Muskoka, the Shadow Minister of Housing. We spoke to builders, developers, mayors, and other local industry leaders to discuss the challenges they are facing, along with possible solutions to get homes built. They all said the same thing: extraneous regulations, long and unpredictable approval periods, expensive taxes, and the rising cost of materials and services are killing the industry. Companies like Viking Properties, a small developer on Vancouver Island, who have successfully built over 400 housing units in the Langford area, including 250 units since 2019, told us about increased fees, development cost charges, and the long wait times they face to get permits approved. These all add significant costs to their projects and are holding them back from building at a faster pace. Costs, by the way, that all end up being passed on to the buyer. These are the real problems that are slowing home building in Canada and making housing unaffordable to an entire generation. Compounded delays and skyrocketing costs have created a cycle where buyers can't afford to buy, sellers can't afford to sell, and builders can't afford to build. And we see this in crumbling housing starts across Canada. So this brings me to Bill C-20, the Build Canada Homes Agency bureaucracy. Will be the third housing agency created in the last 10 years and the fourth housing bureaucracy, none of which have succeeded so far. Mr. Speaker, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Yet here we are doing the same thing again, and Canadians, frankly, deserve better. Building enough homes to meet the demands of a growing population is the only way to make housing affordable again. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation has said we need to reach a target of 430 to 500,000 homes built for the next per year the next 10 years in order to meet this demand. Originally, the government promised this new housing agency would build 500,000 homes per year. Promising, but yes, just a promise. So far, they have not delivered. In fact, the Parliamentary Budget Officer has reported that Build Canada Homes Agency will build only approximately 5,200 homes per year. That's only 1% of the original promise, 1% of the targeted amount needed in order to make housing affordable for Canadians again. This simply is not enough. This will not solve the crisis we find ourselves in. So we must rely on our private developers and builders who have the proven skills, ingenuity, and fortitude to get this done. And to do that, we must address the challenges that they are facing so that they can build. Builders across Canada share the same message. They need less government involvement, less taxes, quicker, predictable approval times. We need to cut red tape so that homes can be built effectively. What we don't need is a fourth remix of the same song. The last 10 years have proven that adding processes does not fix the problem. Instead, it adds another layer of reviews that take time that leads to delays, and delays that lead to added costs that lead to higher sale prices. And another government agency is not the answer to the crisis. Under its current mandate, Canada Build Homes will not change zoning laws, eliminate discretionary rezoning, impose firm timelines on reviews, reduce development charges, or remove environmental duplication charges. So it will not build enough homes to meet the necessary targets, and it won't address any real challenges the industry is facing. Not only does this new agency not address these challenges, it does not address the root cause of the crisis. We cannot build homes fast enough to keep up with our growing population. Conservatives have put forward alternative solutions that would target some of the industry challenges head on, like cutting the GST on all new homes builds under 1.3 million, saving families up to $65,000 on new homes, making these builds more affordable. Or importantly, tying federal infrastructure dollars to home building, encouraging municipalities to permit more home building each year with a target of 15% more. We suggested cutting development cost charges by 50%. This was a campaign promise by this government last year, but I'm sad to see that they have not followed through. We would also like to see the removal of capital gains tax on reinvestment in new housing in Canada, which would unlock billions of dollars of investments in the country's home building sector. These are solutions that tackle the real problems that the industry is facing and put the power back into the hands of Canada's home builders. I encourage my colleagues across the way to seriously consider these solutions so that we can reach the goals that I believe we all share, which is making housing affordable to Canadians. Yesterday, thank you. Terrific enthusiasm. Yesterday in this House, the Minister of Housing told Canadians the reason housing prices are so high is because of the war in Iran. This is a ridiculous statement to make for a multitude of reasons, none more so than the fact that we know the housing affordability crisis did not start a few weeks ago. It has been years in the making. Indeed, 11 years in the making, I would suggest. My colleagues across the way keep telling us to focus on what we control, so I urge the Minister to take that advice. Let's focus on the issues that truly burden the industry. Too much government involvement, long wait periods, taxes. All the things that destroyed the housing economy in Vancouver when the Minister was the Mayor there. I spoke about insanity before, Mr. Speaker. Here it is again. More bureaucracy, rules and regulations that caused costs to skyrocket in Vancouver when he was the Mayor, now imposed on all of Canada under his leadership. And it's been a year, Mr. Speaker. The Minister knows that his grand plan is not working. Big announcements and promises of building at speeds never seen before, catalyzing the housing industry, and 500,000 homes per year have gotten us nowhere. And instead of taking responsibility and focusing on positive solutions, which is why my Conservative colleagues have put forward, and I've reiterated in my speech today, the Minister has decided to lay blame elsewhere. Canadians know the reality of the crisis they face. So I challenge my colleagues opposite to look at the reality of the last year of promises and slogans and compare it to the results. Compare it to reality. We have collapsing housing starts. Prices remain unaffordable. Despite lowering, they remain unaffordable to those that have lost jobs and are having their wages cut and are struggling just to pay for everyday costs. The supply levels are plummeting. Conservatives have put forward a plan to unleash our trades, our investors, our workers, and our resources so that we can build homes quickly. Build Canada Homes will not remove those barriers. It only creates a massive new one. It does not solve the issue of delays. Therefore, it does not solve the issue of costs. Sometimes the best thing that a government can do is to simply get out of the way. So I call on all my colleagues in this House, let's work together to have homes built by builders, not bureaucracy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.